Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this decision meeting for the Cabinet Member for Culture and City Development. I am the Cabinet Member for Culture and City Development, Councillor Steve Pitt. Just before we do anything else, quick housekeeping information to remind you that if the fire alarm sounds, we will need to exit the building in a sensible manner, thank you Claire, and assembled by Queen Victoria's statue, which at the moment is the other side of the ice rink. In order to comply with the Guildhall Trust's fire marshal regulations, please remember to sign out if you signed in when you leave the building. And a reminder to everyone that today's meeting is in fact being live streamed from a fixed camera point at the back of the room, and members of the public are permitted to record the meeting on the understanding it neither disrupts the meeting nor records those stating explicitly that they do not wish to be recorded. May I ask everyone to use microphones provided when they're speaking, and we'll ask, did it really include, may I now ask everyone to introduce themselves? I think I probably could have done that on my own without a written prompt. Just before we do that though, are there any apologies for absence today? I understand that Councillor Stephen Morgan has given apologies as the spokesperson for Labour, and that Councillor Judith Smythe has indicated that she may attend in his place, but may be late.
Yep.
Okay, and on that note, we will go around the table and introduce ourselves. I've already done so, so to my left.
I'm Councillor Claire Eady and I'm opposition spokesperson for the Progressive Portsmouth People Group.
I'm Linda Symes, opposition spokesman for Culture, Leisure, Sport and this. Yes. Thank you. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
Tristan Samuels, Director of Regeneration.
Rachel Cutler, Acting Planning Policy Manager.
Ian Maguire, Assistant Director for Planning and Economic Growth.
Anna Martin, Democratic Services.
Welcome all, and in the interest of transparency, we also have one of the city's solicitors in the public gallery area, and we also have with us Fiona from the news. Welcome, Fiona. Okay, onwards. Any declarations of interest today, members? No, none to be noted. So we are on to item 3, which was a forward plan mission. Who's leading on this one? Is it Ian?
Happy to. Straightforward issue. This is referring to the next item on the agenda, item 4, the local development scheme. That matter was omitted from the forward plan. As noted on page 1, the chair of the City Council Scrutiny Management Panel has been notified with the appropriate public notice published, and the recommendation is at the top of page 2.
Thank you, Ian. In that case, we are on to item 4, and that is that Portsmouth Plan Local Development Scheme update.
Yes, thank you. We've put forward a new local plan timetable, which you'll find on page 2 of the report. It's come from a very thorough review of the work programme President need to undertake to get the local plan through to examination, which is this very long document here, if anyone wants to see it. Basically, it puts the whole programme forward by about 6 months. We're proposing to do the next public consultation in June next year. We're looking to have a draft ready of the plan, or most of the policies, around sort of February, March. That gives us time to assess and take through sustainability appraisal, get the larger pieces of work done, so viability assessment, transport modelling, further site assessment work on some of the larger projects like Gypner in the city centre. So once that public consultation goes out in June, the plan is to follow it up with another public consultation on a pre-submission draft in November, and that will be followed by hopefully submission in March 2021. After that, the timetable is a bit more approximate. It depends on availability of planning inspectors, scheduling of hearings, things like that. But the overall aim is to get the plan adopted by the council hopefully by the end of 2021.
Thank you, Rachel. Members, any comments?
Question, please. I'd like to know just how it affects the 5-year land allocation plan.
The five-year land supply, of course, is fundamentally unaffected by the current timetable because most of the identified opportunities already exist in the 2012 plan itself. Obviously, what the new plan, which is delayed by 6 months, is an opportunity for further opportunities. Tipner being perhaps the most obvious example. If we are to do something more ambitious on Tipner, that couldn't occur until the local plan comes forward. But the additional ambition, of course, wouldn't occur in a 5-year horizon from now. That would be effectively adding on to the end of the plan period. So while I would never say never for implications for 5-year land supply, the 6-month delay has no demonstrable adverse implications for it.
Anything else, Linda? No. Claire, anything?
Are the dates that I've written here, these best possible case scenario for when it will be dealt with, or do you reckon you might be subject to delays in area?
It's what we're calling realistic but ambitious. So that's what we're going for based on our best estimate of when we can get various work streams done and they all tie into each other.
Anything else? Anything anybody wants to add? No, in that case that is approved. And thank you very much. That takes us on to item 5, which is the housing and multiple occupation, ensuring mixed and balanced communities. And this is the update to the supplementary planning document. Who's doing this one, Ian?
Thank you. As has been said, this is fundamentally just a change to an existing guidance document, the HMO SPD. At the top of page 28 of the agenda, under paragraph 4.1, we've highlighted the 5 bullet points, which are the key main changes. We've added a bit about waste disposal and storage. We've added an appendix to help guide judgments on assessing harm associated with HMOs. We've put greater emphasis on a critical assessment as part of the balanced judgment rather than a more tick box approach which perhaps the previous document covered, and we have aligned the room size requirements and other matters with the housing regulations, the HMO licensing regime, to ensure customers are best able to engage with the council across the 2 complementary regimes that run in parallel. We feel this new document will aid decision making for members and for officers and will enable us to make more informed and rounded judgments, so HMOs can be resisted where they should be resisted and allowed where they should be allowed.
Thank you, Ian. Members?
I'm glad to see that you've actually entered that 15-metre measure, measuring the immunity. I'm really pleased that's in there because it's, it's not right, is it? As it is. Thank you.
Claire? In that case, that is I am approving, or yes, I am approving. So thank you very much, and thanks for all your work on that, Ian. And we'll get to see it in action very soon at the Planning Committee. Item 6 is the nutrient neutral mitigation strategy, or nitrates as we've all come to know it, and that's contained in pages 61 to 94 of the report. So this is an update. We'd already agreed the way the strategy would be developed, so this is now having developed said strategy, and again with a mind to being able to proceed with planning applications. Rachel, I assume you're doing this one because you've done all the work, or is Ian doing it?
I'll take all the credit.
That's not fair, Ian. Yeah. To do most of the work.
Because I also wish to take some of the criticism. We are going to table a amended page which we can circulate to members. This replaces the charging schedule information in paragraph 4.10 of the report, and similarly within the interim strategy itself there's a typo in one of the lines. We've transposed a 4 and a 5, so I'll happily take the blame for that, and we've taken the opportunity, as we have to update that, to extract that charging table and place it into a 2-page appendix so we can provide some greater guidance for members. Hand those round. So we'll just give you that page. There's nothing particularly exciting on it beyond that, to be clear. We do hope that will assist users of it to understand the fee we would associate, the charge we'd associate with accessing mitigation opportunities. The strategy itself, as said, is following the guidance as described by Cabinet in the previous discussions and decision making. what we've tried to do is capture the key background information and the key opportunities, which obviously is to access the credits to nitrates that the council is creating through interventions in our housing stock, and providing a transparent way in which the applicants can provide certainty in securing mitigation to achieve overall neutrality for nutrients going into solent waters. The interim strategy in its first draft form has been placed in front of Natural England, and they have returned an overall in principle agreement subject to some points of clarification, but to be totally clear, they have reserved their rights to seek further legal advice as it moves forward. Like any mitigation strategy to deal with habitat regulation issues, the test of it is very much in the eating. The first appropriate assessments that will have to be formally consulted with Natural England. A process going on at the moment will be the official test before we, as the competent authority, the Planning Committee as the competent authority for those that come to it, will make those final decisions. We are, however, satisfied this is a robust and appropriate mitigation strategy to cover the interim period, and I must be clear, it is an interim strategy as described on the front cover of it. Let me just get the right date. 2019 to 2033, 2023-24, to enable us to work continuously with our partners to try and find a permanent solution to this problem. Other than that, we do endorse and support the strategy for members.
Thank you, Ian. Just for clarity then, which, for Anna, for Dem Services, which bit are we taking out and adding this as an appendix to?
So it is in page, in the strategy itself, the page is
2021?
Table 2.
Table 2, thank you.
Table 2.
Which is on page 88 of the, page 20 of the strategy, 88 of the agenda papers. That table would come out and be replaced with a reference to signposting to an appendix, and this 2-page document would be the associated appendix.
Is that all right, Anna? Yeah, you're fine. The only query on that is it's called Table 3 in mine. Yeah, let's get the right table, because otherwise I think we're making it worse instead of making it better.
Table 3, section 4, below paragraph 4.3.
Yeah, okay, and Anna's all right with that, yeah? Okay. Members, questions?
Plan B, supposing they come back and say, sorry, we don't want to go with this, what happens then?
The competent authority to assess this is Portsmouth City Council, so we have to have due regard to their comments, as they say, but it really depends. If they come back and say this is absolute nonsense and they have a legitimate concern, we'll come back and speak to members around that. However, this has been built on processes we've already agreed in principle with them. And as I say, that's why we took the opportunity to get their general in principle review of this before we brought it forward for final endorsement and use.
And Ian, I think I'm right in saying, aren't I, that in the Gosport Borough Council, on a much smaller and one-off example of this, did use a mitigation strategy based on credits for an application fairly recently, but that period for that to be judicially reviewed has now passed, and Natural England did not call it in.
That's correct, and obviously the general principle of achieving neutrality through looking at wastewater coming out of a site, we've used ourselves at the Kingston Prison site with agreement of Natural England. Yeah.
So that's we have and Gosport have, and we think on that basis we're okay. Claire, any questions? Anything either of you would like to add? Could I add that thank you very much to Ian, but also very much to Rachel as well, because I know Rachel's done an awful lot of work on this, and we are in a much better position than the other Solent local authorities on this as well, due to the amount of work that's gone in to make sure we had something that would stand up. And it's very important that we are protecting local jobs and getting development underway where it's appropriate that we do so. So thank you very much indeed, and we'll see this applied to planning applications after today, I understand. Thank you. Could we just, one final question, Ian, perhaps you'd be appropriate to say, give us a rough idea on how quickly we think we can clear the backlog now we've reached this point.
Certainly from a backlog perspective, i.e. those that are queuing up for planning committees, we are hoping that they will largely be done by the 18th of December, that secondary elongated planning committee. The big challenge will be back with developers to provide the necessary information for us to inform that. So that's ongoing debates now with case officers leading those. Several of the cases that are delayed by nitrates, of course, are also ongoing negotiations on other matters. So as always, planning is a complex web of interrelated issues. So a lot of things are having to deal with nitrates, but are not what I would define as backlog, just going through the processes. So we are hoping by the end of this calendar year, the backlog, those things that are ready to go barring nitrates, should be able to be cleared.
Fantastic, thank you very much. And I think given where we were, we're in a pretty good spot, and that's thanks to the hard work of you and your team. So thank you very much indeed. In that case, the subject to the amendments that Anna's noted, that is approved as an adopted strategy. Thank you very much. That takes us to item 7, which is the outside body appointment, which is for noting, actually, that Mr. Peter Gunn is nominated as my replacement on the Guildhall Trust Board. It comes into effect on January 2020, and I'm noting and approving that. Any comments on that from members? You're very welcome. Yeah, no, I've been very pleased that he said yes. So, okay. Any other business today that anybody wanted to raise? I know it's very quick, isn't it? So thank you very much, everybody. That's the meeting now concluded, and once again, thanks for your work.